working in certain industries, and cafes and pubs are suffering from loss of weekend business. Those riding in the same location as a group and caught on police video are liable to be marked as persons of interest, even interstate. There are claims such people have had renewal of their firearms licence declined just for being Bikie affiliated. The police and the public, or at least the motorcycle riding public, are on a collision course, and they wonder why nobody comes to the aid of the police when they're in trouble. For myself, I am never going to help someone who thinks it's okay to pull me up, search me and threaten me with jail if I don't answer their questions, merely because I'm riding my motorbike in company with a couple of other people. If that's what they think, they can lie on the side of the road and bleed to death. These laws would not exist but for the fact that some motorcyclists wear patches and ride Harleys, and what they reveal is a failure of policing. Nobody denies there are criminals in the bikie clubs, but there are criminals who are not in bikie clubs too. And most bikie club members are decent working people. I know quite a number of them myself. There are already laws that make it a crime to commit or threaten violence, or produce and sell drugs, or even have a fight in public. Before these laws existed, the police could get search warrants, tap phones, bug premises, search financial records, and drag people in for questioning. So when they want all these extra powers to catch criminals in motorcycle clubs, what's the obvious conclusion? Either they don't have the resources to do their job properly, or they are too incompetent to do their job properly. There is no other explanation. The answer, of course, is not to pass new laws that make criminals out of people simply for who they are. The answer is either to provide the police with the resources they need to do their job properly, or get rid of the incompetent police and replace them with competent ones. In a free society, people must be accountable for what they do, not for who they are. The Queensland Government has made an entire group of people criminals simply based on who their mates are and how they choose to dress themselves. Yeah. But they forget they will not always be in a position of authority. Police are not always police. Most of them leave and get proper jobs. And some of them even ride motorbikes. That's something they can look forward to, riding a motorbike when they're not a policeman. And one day, Campbell Newman and Jared Bikie will just be ordinary citizens. And they had better hope that whoever is in government doesn't decide to use these powers against them. Because if they wanted to, a future government of a different political colour could use these laws to imprison Campbell Newman and Jared Bikie as participants in a declared criminal organisation. I can just imagine them in pink jumpsuits. Thank you for coming here today, and thank you also for listening.
Thank you very much, a man I'm very proud to call my colleague and friend David Lyon home, everyone. Our next speakers are something a bit different. They're going to put a bit of a human face on the travesty of justice that these laws are. If any of you have been on the internet, you will have seen a petition circulating around for a fellow by the name of Kevin Hill. Kevin's a young man who's been inside for about 18 months on a parole breach, I believe, over some fairly piddling little offences. Since these laws have been enacted, Kevin's gone from being a model prisoner with every privilege and right that the jails will afford him to busted down to 23 hours lockdown. They've taken his TV away, they're trying to stop him from reading newspapers, they've denied him access to mental health professionals. So what I've got now is the family of Kevin Hill who come up to talk. Now, when most young women think about their fairy tale wedding, they don't think about watching the government spend the first few months of their marriage torturing their husband. And that's exactly what's happening here. So I'll welcome the family of Kevin Hill up to speak. There we go. They were here before. I know, here we go.
Thank you everyone for being here. I'm really nervous. I'm not used to talking in crowds. I just want to get it out about my husband and about the men that are suffering in the 23-hour lockdown in the prison system. It's inhumane. They're being treated like animals, being locked in a cell by themselves in association with no one. They can't talk to no one, they can't wave to anyone, or else they're boys that get... sorry. But the people that wave at them or talk to them will be chucked in 23-hour lockdown with them. It's like being treated like... It's inhumane and ridiculous. And who's gonna pay for their mental health when they come out? Who's gonna help support them? I appreciate everyone that's been here and that signed the petition for Kevin and has been supporting him. And sorry.
You can do it!
I want to put a stop to Campbell Newman's rules. I can't see why someone can make rules overnight and everything can change. I support all the men that ride their motorbikes. I've grown up around it all my life, and I support it all. I support everyone. And we've all got our rights, and in the end of the day, it's not just because of the bikies, it's all our freedom and our rights in the end of the day. If we don't fight for it, then we're all going to be put in 23-hour lockdown too. So I just want to thank you all for being here and for all your support, and thanks to everyone that signed the petition for Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks, Grace. You did a fantastic job. Wasn't she great? The first time getting up here and speaking in front of 2,000 people is not an easy task. So thanks very much for that. That's fantastic. Up next, we've got Travis Windsor from the Australian Motorcycle Business Chamber. Now, as you know, motorcycling is not just a lifestyle, it's a fairly important industry. One upon which many jobs and livelihoods depend. And as was mentioned before, for a party that's supposed to be pro-business, Campbell Newman and his LNP are doing a pretty good job of gutting businesses that depend on motorcyclists for their custom. So Travis has got some pretty scary numbers and some important information that will interest anybody whose business as well as their lifestyle is motorcycles, and will also be very interesting to everyone else as well. Please welcome Travis.
Brothers and sisters, it's time to ride. I'm Travis. Can you hear me up the back? Yeah, good on you, brothers. I'm a biker. I've enjoyed the freedom of riding motorcycles for 30 years. I'm the founder of the Australian Motorcycle Business Chamber. We're a group of bikers. We own small businesses. We meet up, go for rides, do charity, do business. We help each other, just like a normal bike club. There's 1,500 bike-related businesses in Queensland. Turnover, $1 billion. 10,000 people are employed in the industry. In the last few weeks, there's been a 30% or more downturn reported. 30% or more. I was just talking to Simon from Heavy Duty. Yeah, good on you, Simon. Same deal. So now jobs are starting to be lost. This means the industry, our industry, is losing $5 million a week. Then you got tourism, hospitality, tattoos. To help, we've assembled a team of business experts, including business mentors like myself, accountants, marketing people. They're all bikers. We'll help any business in the bike industry or any business owned by a biker for free, no charge. Access to dudes that normally charge hundreds of dollars an hour at no charge. If you don't ride a bike, it's $1 million an hour, and the money goes to the fighting fund. If you're interested, come and see us or go to our Facebook page, Australian Motorcycle Business Chamber. But the main thing is, it's time to ride. It's time to ride for all the groups and all the clubs. It's time to ride up to Mount Glorious. It's time to ride down to Canungra. It's time to ride to all the pubs. It's time to ride to all the cafes. It's time to ride for all the bike shops. It's time to ride. My brother Scott motor neurone disease. Does anyone know what motor neurone disease is? It's a terminal illness that destroys the nervous system. 30-year biker, like myself, mainly Ducatis, and he's my best mate. When he got diagnosed a year ago, he bought a Ducati Diable, and he's done 10,000 Ks on it. He just turbocharged it, 300 horsepower, and I can't wait to get on it and flog the shit out of it. Yeah, it's going in Rapid Bikes, Australian Motorcycle News. So we're trying to do wild hogs over the snowies at Christmas, so it should be safe down there. Well, he can hardly walk anymore, but he still rides. I think he's gone to the ride at Canberra, actually. He still rides, and so should we. In April, both of my brothers and I went to the Laughlin River Run in Nevada, USA. Has anyone been to Laughlin? Yeah. 5 hours up Route 66 from LA. It was awesome. 70,000 bikers. Police were great. Nobody got hurt. Heaps of hardcore, full-on hardcore dudes. Only 11 arrests. Half of them were for traffic. The Laughlin River Run's been in the media because of a brawl between the Hells Angels and the Mongols in 2002. They introduced a no-patch policy after that, and the thing is, since then, not a single problem. Sturgis, 500,000 bikes. Stoolies.
Bring them over here.
There's nothing like a Laughlin or a Sturgis in Australia, but maybe now it's time for something like a bike week down the Gold Coast. Broadbeach, 20,000 bikers. There's 500,000 licensed motorcycle riders in Queensland. All different, and we've never come together before. And because of that, we've never assumed our rightful place in society. This has brought us together. Jap bikes, Harley riders, scooters, Ulysses, MRA, sports riders, trail bike riders, all together. There's 1 million in Australia, 1 million. The numbers are doubling every 10 years, so if you don't like motorcycles, it's not a good place. And then there's the reason we're here, and that's our bikes. They're our freedom. If freedom was an object, it would be a motorcycle. Remember the first time you rode? Your mates? Rain? Dodging cars? Breakdowns? You wouldn't change it for quits. This fucking bullshit will sort itself out. But nobody will take our freedom.
No one!
Because are Queenslanders. Brothers and sisters, for freedom, it's time to ride. Okay, Gabe Freedom Buckley, everyone. Gabe Freedom Buckley. Gabe, what are you doing on Australia Day?
That's right.
We're going again. We're going again, but it's going to be different. We're going again because this time you'll bring your mates. And this time we'll get the Muslims and the Christians and the students and the hippies and the mums and dads and the disabled and the Aboriginals, and we'll send the message. That's the message. That's the message. The message is... The message is, it's going to start, it's going to be big. The message is, no mate, we're the boss.
Thanks, Travis. That's a great information. So if anybody does run a motorcycling business, please see Travis. Our next speaker, as anybody has had a look at this legislation, and as you've been told over and over again by the speakers so far, this is not a narrow piece of legislation aimed solely at a small number of people who are doing the wrong thing. These laws give the government to outlaw any group of people that they choose, based on a ministerial whim. There's no oversight in this process, and one sort of group of people stands out as being an obvious target for these laws. The trade union movement. One of our final speakers for the day, State Secretary of the Electrical Trades Union, Peter Simpson. Welcome up, Simmer.
Thanks, comrades. I hope you don't mind me calling you comrades, because comrades is what we are. Anyone that opposes these laws is a comrade of mine. Whether you ride a bike, whether you come over in a Honda 90 like I just did, or whether you walked over. At the end of the day, these laws don't, as everyone said, don't just cover bikies. Don't even mention bikies in the legislation. It's hard coming and speaking at this time of the proceedings where everyone else has said all the stuff that needs to be said. But what I do want to say to you is give you a bit of a history lesson from the trade union's point of view. And I'm only speaking from our point of view, from the Electrical Trades Union, not on behalf of any of the others. It's us that have been asked to speak, so we'll give you our spoil. About 6 months ago, we put a full-page ad in the Courier Mail. Some of you might have saw it, a picture of Adolf Hitler. And we compared him to what this bastard's doing in this state. It was about the Transparency and Accountability Act. It was an act that's supposed to try and stifle trade unions' rights, trying to stop us from campaigning and spending money against this government. It was a pretty successful piece of legislation. A lot of unions now can't campaign unless they go out and ballot all of their members, which costs about $50,000 to $60,000 to run a ballot. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks to run the process. So you can't react overnight. If he changes the laws today, we can react tomorrow under the old regime. Under the new regime, we have to run these bullshit ballots. And that's costing our members money, it's costing our members time. The way it works in the trade union movement is, if your members don't like you, they fucking vote you out. That's what they do. They don't go through all the bullshit that this bastard's trying to put in place. At the end of the day, if you're a trade unionist and you're a member of a union, you don't like the way the leadership's going, you turf the bastards out the next election. We're all up for election the same as these clowns are. So guess what we've got to do to these clowns the next election? So that was the Transparency and Accountability Act, and that was back in May, and I copped an absolute bucket load of phone calls middle of the night from gutless bastards on private numbers who didn't have the balls to at least ring up and say, I'm Joe Blogs, I don't like your ad. We copped an absolute flogging. And fair enough, it's a fairly confronting image of Adolf Hitler and the things he did to the Jews and motorcyclists, unionists, gays, whatever, back in the 40s, 30s and 40s. It was a horrible bloody time, horrible time to be alive. What we were trying to point out at the time was, though, we're not trying to praise what Hitler did, quite the opposite. We were trying to show what was coming. And that was back, like I said, back in May. Since then, the Vlad laws hadn't even been thought of. Well, sorry, I think they've been thought of, but they hadn't been put into act. I've got a theory that the Vlad laws were sitting there without a title on them. He was waiting for someone to erupt. He was waiting for a trade union to run a picket line and have a blue. He was waiting for some group in the community to come out. And unfortunately for the bikies in Queensland, it was the blue that happened down at Broadbeach. And straight away overnight, you don't write a piece of legislation that thick overnight, trust me. And it was straight away dropped out. So it wasn't just about bikies, it was I reckon it was lined up for trade unions.
Yeah.
We weren't there in the gun first, you guys were. And when I say you guys, I know some guys in motorcycle clubs. Some of our guys have got good relationships with guys in motorcycle clubs, Outlaw and the rest. My son rides a friggin' motorbike. Like I said, I rode our Honda 90 over today. I've got a motorbike licence ever since I was a kid. People should be able to ride and associate with whoever the fuck they want. So, people have been saying, why is the trade union moving out the streets? Why haven't we shut the place down? Well, we're under attack too, comrades. They're telling us the new Abbott government's already passed legislation making it illegal to take industrial action outside of an EBA. There's $34,000 fines to each individual that takes illegal industrial action. They've put moves in place to ban picket lines. Picket lines have been the string in our bow for 100 years, or more than 100 years. That MUA dispute, I remember it well. I remember the bikies that rode up to the MUA dispute bringing lots of cash to support the guys on the picket line. I was there with them. It was good stuff, and that hasn't been forgotten, I can assure you. So you've got the Transparency Accountability Act, you've now got the Vlad legislation. As the previous speaker from Civil Liberties talked about, it covers anyone that little 12-year-old prick from Nambour decides that he wants to cover. He's got the ultimate power in this now. He can overrule judges, he can overrule any bastard he wants. One of the earlier speakers spoke about the secret dispute. I wasn't around the secret dispute, but I came into our office after the secret dispute and saw the aftermath of it. They had a thing called the Continuity of Supply Act back then. Any three secret workers that congregated in a group, or any three workers that congregated in a group, that was deemed to be a union meeting, and they could be arrested the same as you can be under this legislation. We thought that was a bad act of Parliament. This is way, way, way worse than that. There isn't one place in the Western world or any country that I can think of where this sort of legislation's been put out there. And it gets worse. I went out for dinner the other night with an old mate of mine. He's about 70. He's dying of cancer. And his young bloke, a real good young bloke,